bring Jen on right now. You there?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. So, Shaq and I talk about you all the time. He told me something that is that's really impressive. And he said that there's some chat that you're on that you guys like, it goes from Monday to Monday or something like that, or is it every day? And you have a goal to do a certain amount of things every day.
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Shaq created a core group chat called Win the Day. And it came from Jackie Ashford talking about her, you know, working with the people that win the day and helping people win the day, hitting the board every day, and just making sure that you hit your minimum commitment. So he started asking us probably 100 days ago, more or less, on Monday morning huddle. The people that show up voluntarily, they're the ones that he focuses on. And he said, I want everyone to text or telegram on the Win the Day thread what you're going to do today. And I want a commitment. And don't just say you're going to do it, like it's a commitment. And it scared me in a good way because I don't want to say that I'm going to do something and not do it. And so because I threw my goal out there, and in my mentality behind it was, if I don't do it because it's voluntary, it's worse than not saying anything, right? If you don't commit, you're still committing to not doing anything. So I committed to
So
doing.
yeah, if you don't commit, you're still committing, but to doing nothing. Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so in my mind, I was like, if I don't do it, my team's not going to do it. So I got to commit to something. And for me, it's too small for my level of performance now to just do activity. I have to hit the board. So I started posting, I'm going to get one prospect a day. One prospect that day, 3 referrals, 3 booked invites and or booked QA. So it's a mix, and 1 app or 1 recruit that I'm involved with helping submit. So I can submit somebody.
You have to do all of those things
in one day.
Okay.
Yeah, all of it. So when I said I was going to do it, I did it. And I was like, okay, now I got to do it again because he's going to ask me to do it again. And it scared me again. And it was very uncomfortable at first because I wasn't used to having like this daily result goal attached to activity too. But then as like the time went by, because I committed to the activity that kind of fell into each other. The more prospects I got, the more calls I could make, the more calls I could make, the more bookings I could do, the more bookings I could do, the more appointments I had, the more fluid the closing became. Like the pipeline just grew. And so now it's like some days I'll finish, like last week there was a day I finished at 11:30 a.m. all my commitments. And like I had the rest
Let's go
of
over
the
that
day.
again. Hold on. Let's go over this again. So you are going to get what? Write this down, guys. Even if you're not going to do it, just write. This is so crazy. Okay. So say it.
1 prospect.
1 prospect on the, how many days a week does he do this?
Monday to Friday.
Okay. So 5 days a week, 1 prospect.
3 referrals.
3 referrals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A mix of 3 booked invites to the webinar and or qualified appointments.
Okay.
So
3 invites to the webinar or appointment. So recruiting interviews or appointments. Okay.
I can do like 2 invites and 1 book QA, right?
Okay.
Or like 3 book QAs and I'm good.
Okay.
And 1 app or 1 recruit that I'm responsible for submitting.
And then, so that's the result portion.
Right.
So you have to get an app or a recruit?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, this is 5 days a week.
Yeah.
All right. What is your, now I can't remember, think of the word. Like you're on a run for how many days in a row you've done this, right?
Yeah, like 100, more or less.
Did you hear that? 100 days of that. 100 days. 100 days in a row. I mean, if that doesn't drive you, if it doesn't motivate you, I don't know, some people might scare you. I don't know. I just know me. That is unbelievable, man. The consistency, The focus, the intensity, it's amazing, man, that we get to be around people like this. It really, really is. 100 days, 100 days. That's amazing, man. And it's important we talk about things like this so people know, you know, what's required, what people are doing to get to where they're at. That's why your income is where it is. You know, regularly making 10 grand a month. Really a lot of, I mean, on your own pen, you know what I'm saying? You have a ton of freedom, you travel, you do whatever you want, you hang out. It's not like you're just, like she said, a lot of times she'll finish by 11:30. It's like, dude, if you're 100 days in a row and you want to take off every day after 11:30 because you're doing that in the morning until 11:30, that's the kind of freedom you can have, you know, when you're really good with your own pen and building a team and all of that. So that is awesome, man. And this is what we're looking for. People like her are found, you know. It's not because Shaq is such a great recruiter, right? Matter of fact, he didn't even recruit her. He develops her, right? He develops her. He spends a ton of time. He invests in her. But people like this are found, you know, and we're over here, you know, working with someone. We're begging them to wake up for a meeting. We're begging them to come on time. We're begging them to set one appointment with their best friend. We're begging them to invite one person. We're begging them to improve their life and make more money. And you got people like this doing that kind of activity 100 days in a row. It's just unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. And I'm so freaking, you know, happy and proud of you, man. I just wanted to bring that up, man. So these guys would, you know, so they would know who they're listening to today. But one of the other things that the main thing we're gonna go over today is your life insurance presentation. Okay. Nothing against anybody else, but Shaq is saying that of everything that he's heard, and he spends more time with these things with everybody. You know, I like to talk about the psychology. He talks about presentations and things like that. And he says you're the best. He says this is the best. She's the best. This is the best. They need to hear it. I need to hear it. You know, you're the consistency in your production, in your income. You know, your clients are keeping their policies, so it's not just you're writing business and then it's falling off. We need to hear how this is being done. And he said that within the presentation slides, there's a few of them that you explain. It's just out of this world, right? And your ability to overcome objections, your ability to get a person to apply, to do, I mean, I want to hear this. I need to hear it. So let's get started with that. Why don't you share your screen? Are you prepared to do that?
Yeah, I just
bring up the QA.
Yeah, can you give me permission to share my screen? Because
I thought making the co-host did that. Am I wrong?
oh well, my iPad had disconnected me, so I had to come back in, remember?
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's see.
If you go to settings or security, I think you can see the allow participants. There you go.
Try to see if it works.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, again. All right, so this is what we want to talk about, right? You know, the presentation, we can focus on, like, there's different aspects of the presentation. That's how you open it up. There's building rapport. That's not what we're talking about today, right? What we want to talk about today is through the presentation, what are the seeds that you are planting throughout the presentation that gets where it gets someone to buy, basically, right? When things go wrong is when someone gets to the end of a presentation, and when they get to the commitment portion of it, they're surprised that the person is saying no, or that they're not interested, or that they want to wait, right? When you become a professional, you see that coming. You see, okay, this isn't going well. This person's not going to do it. It's going to be a second or third appointment or never, right? or you know that they are going to do it because you're getting the right signals. So talk about, as you go through this, just highlight the slides where you're dropping seeds on insurance, and then I'll interject once in a while.
Okay. So I think one of the most important slides is this one because it's credibility. So Samir, these are our partners. Have you, do you recognize any of these?
Yeah, I do.
Which ones? Great.
I recognize Voya, Lincoln, AIG.
Awesome.
Mortgage, yeah.
Awesome. So if you look closely, if I can zoom in, if you can see, we work a lot like Amazon, but in finance, because if you shop at Amazon, what can you buy?
Anything.
Anything, right? At a one-stop shop. So we work the same way. And a lot of these companies, you've probably seen them on advertising, like, TV, radio, and that's not very cheap. So if you have to pay millions of dollars for an expense like that, you have to charge your clients more at the end of the day, don't you?
Yeah.
So companies like Lincoln, for example, they know they can't compete with us because they know they only have 5,000 to 8,000 representatives versus our 130,000. So naturally, we can bring in more volume. So what they'll do is create a product or service only we can offer through them. You can't go to Lincoln, Samir, and get that same product. You have to go through us. So when we find Lincoln a client, they did not have to work for it. They pay us in the back end. So we never have to charge you for our time. That's a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So on this slide, I go through, I made an adjustment and I said, in the financial program that we do for families you can introduce us to in the future or now, we help establish their financial priorities, calculate your net worth, and establish your FIN or financial independence number. Now, let me ask you, what does financial independence mean to you?
Where I don't have to work anymore.
Okay, good. In the same sense, the financial independence number is the total dollar amount that you have to save up to in order to live off that money for the rest of your life. That way you never have to go back to work anymore. But on the way to financial independence, we want to eliminate your debt because you would never want that to fall on your children or family if, God forbid, something happens to you, right?
Right.
Which is why we help understand life insurance coverage needs. But let's first talk about savings.
Okay, so go back. This is huge. Okay, and I'm going to start doing this right away on the few appointments that I'm on. So, so we talk about financial independence. Now go back. Okay, we talk about financial independence, right? What is the FIN number, financial independence number? We're going to come up with that number. What does financial independence mean to you, right? And then you get their answer. And then you say, okay, great. And then you explain what your definition is, which is financial independence is when you have enough money to where you can live off of it and you don't have to work. Or you said something along the lines of that, right?
Total dollar amount.
Okay, explain, say your definition just so they can get that.
I got it from Shaq. Actually, it's part of Shaq's script. So
Sure.
financial independence number is the total dollar amount you have to save up to in order to live off that money for the rest of your life. That way you never have to go back to work anymore.
Okay, so the total dollar amount that you have to have accumulated so you can live off of that for the rest of your life without having to work.
Right.
Okay. Then what she does is she uses the two. I'm getting some feedback here. Hold on. Okay. So she uses the two next points to kind of strengthen, right? And then she drops the seed there. So she says, but what we have to make sure is that we can eliminate the debt because we don't want that to fall on your family in case something happens to you, right? Which is why we need to understand coverage needs like life insurance. Amazing.
Yep.
So that's a seed, right? It's giving the client a clue in terms of what's coming. And it's building your case, right? When they say yes, when they say, yeah, I wouldn't want that to happen, and or yes, I understand, or financial independence, it's strengthening your case. You're building that momentum towards a potential close. Okay, let's go.
Now, the financial independence number definition they give me, Samir, I write down because I'm going to use it in the income protection slide where the husband disappears.
So what's a typical definition that they give you?
I mean, I've gotten what you just said, don't have to work anymore. I've gotten freedom. I've gotten debt free a lot. And just being able to do what you want to do whenever you want to do it, not have to worry about bills, just not have to worry about the struggle is what they're explaining.
So those are so you're writing it down.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good.
Yep. So that's done. Then we talk about compound interest. So this is really important because if you don't do this the right way, you're not going to be able to overcome I can't afford it later. And so let's talk about savings. Let's take $200 a month. And by the way, Samir, in general, do you think $200 in general is a lot of money these days?
No.
No. But if you lose it, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, you probably don't waste $200 a day, but if I tied you to a lie detector test and I asked you, how much do you think you spend unnecessarily on the go, just on chips, soda, coffee, Amazon included on an average daily basis? And by the way, some days you may not spend anything. Some days you may spend more than enough. But if you average it out daily, what do you think you spend per day just because you can?
$20.
20. Okay. So let's say you take $20 a day times 30 days in an average month, right? That's $600 you spend just because you can, right?
Yeah.
Which means you could save $200 a month if you really put your mind to it, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you, how old is your youngest child?
4.
4. Not to scare you, but 35 years later, your youngest child will be 39, right?
Yeah.
I know it's a scary thought. But let's say you take your $200 a month under the mattress and save it for your child in the next 35 years. That's $84,000 your 4-year-old would have under the mattress, just out of pocket. But if you invest it earning 3%, that's $148,000. At 6%, it's $286,000. But take a wild guess. What do you think it would be at 12%?
500,000.
1.3 million.
Wow.
1.3 million. And I show it like that to shock you because look at the difference between 6 and 12. That's $1 million difference. People think to be a millionaire, they have to be a basketball player, rock star, celebrity. But even Albert Einstein said compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. And if we were forced to learn about him in school, why didn't school force us to learn compound interest? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Any questions here, Samir?
No. All right. I want to pause you here. I need her to get through the most important part of the presentation, but when you guys watch this video, listen to how she got their commitment, how she got that answer from them in terms of how much money they waste. Look at the series of things that she said to get them to say, or get me to say, $20 a day, right? It could be Amazon, it could be this, it could be that. It's an average. Some days, obviously, you don't waste anything, but other days you waste more. That is the way that you structure a question like that is through a lot of experience of when you ask it the wrong way and you're not getting what you want to hear, then now she's structuring it in a way where she's getting what she wants. That takes a lot of experience to do that. We can all just go copy it. So go back into the video later on when we post this and figure out or listen and copy how she asked that question of how much money they waste. Okay, Jen, next.
Yeah. So I also made you say that you could put aside $200 a month.
Yes.
So you can't even tell me you don't have $200 to spare.
Yeah, you did it right on a calculator, which is good. I think it's good for them to see it.
Yeah. So transitioning from this slide to the next slide is one of my seeds. So if they don't have any questions, I say, okay, Samir, so it's really exciting to talk about saving money, accumulating wealth, but doesn't it take time for money to grow?
Absolutely.
And in this crazy world we live in, couldn't anything happen to us tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right. If you take a typical family, let's say a mother and father, mom makes 3,500 a month, dad makes 3,500 a month. That's $7,000 coming in, but also 7,000 going where?
Bills.
Right. Mortgage, cars, car insurance, etc. What do you notice about the type of bills that they have?
They're all necessities.
Right. They look like almost every family, doesn't it? Don't they?
Yeah.
And if these are just the normal bills for most families, what do you think is the worst thing that can happen to a family financially?
They lose their job.
Right. That's bad. If you lose a job, you lose an income. The bills don't just stop, do they?
No, they don't.
Right. And it's bad, but in this world, creative world we live in, if you lose a job, eventually you could always find another way.
True.
Right. Now that's temporary loss. But what if you lose your income not temporarily, but permanently?
Yeah.
A breadwinner passes away. If God forbid the father passes away or breadwinner passes away, how is the wife going to be able to pay the mortgage they worked so hard to acquire? How
Yeah.
is she not going to be able, how is she going to be able to preserve her savings and then not have to work? She's going to have to work, won't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in this situation, we don't just touch on life insurance because car insurance brings back your car. Home insurance brings back your belongings. But life insurance doesn't bring back your life, does it?
No.
What it does bring back, if you have enough, is your income. And that's why we call it income protection or income insurance. And anybody with an income and dependence needs to protect that income. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Now, God forbid something happens to you. Would you want your family to be better off, the same, or worse?
Better.
Right. But if something did happen to you tomorrow, would they be better off?
Tomorrow? No.
And a lot of families say the same thing because how can we really plan accordingly if nobody really wants to educate us?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to back up. If you were a single parent, I would say, now this may not be your situation, Samir, but in your situation, aren't you the mom and the dad sometimes?
Yeah.
So it's even more detrimental in your situation, isn't it?
It is.
And if something happened to you tomorrow, would you want your children to be better off, the same, or worse?
Better.
But if something did happen to you, would they be better off?
No.
Right. Nope. Everybody says the same thing because how can we really plan accordingly if nobody really wants to educate us?
Yeah.
And then I go next.
So I've heard by the way, your transition into this slide is really good. I've never really had a transition. I just say another product we talk about, right? So I like that transition. So from here, you say, it's exciting to talk about money, but it takes a lot of time for money to grow, right?
Yeah.
And then what was the second thing that you said?
But in this crazy world we live in, couldn't anything happen to us tomorrow?
In this crazy world we live in, couldn't anything happen to us tomorrow? So the client, number one, she's not making a statement. She's not saying, yeah, and anything can happen. She's saying, so she's turning that statement into a question. They're going to say yes, they're agreeing. And now you're going to get right into this. I thought that was a great transition, which I definitely need to incorporate. Okay, so this is what we're going to do for the sake of time. And we may even do you again, something like this next week. But I want to hear the transition, which is the most common, right? That when you're either with a single parent or a no insurance, can you just walk us through that process? Because Shaq said that you basically get right to the quote in that situation.
Okay, so
just do the no insurance slide. Someone has no insurance, just go right to no insurance.
Right. Okay. Let me see if I can. I might sound like rushed, but I really do it, and I really take time doing it with the client. So
well, how much time?
Like 5 minutes.
You have 5 minutes.
Okay. So this is after I've gone through cash value, term versus term, and then I go straight into no insurance. And they're like, I already asked them. So don't you see that you should have coverage with our company? They say yes. So typically when a responsible family like yourself doesn't have any life insurance or income protection outside of their job, usually it's due to one of these following three reasons. Number one, you didn't think you need it. Like, I don't really care what happens to my family. I know that's not you, Samir, so we can scratch that off. Number two, maybe you didn't think you could afford it. Or three, you just never got around to it. Maybe you just had got busy, you knew it was important, but classic case of procrastination for most humans. Where do you feel best describes you?
Just never got around to it.
Okay, we can definitely get around to it, but is protecting your family important enough where you would be willing to begin setting aside some money each month to take care of this?
Yeah.
And if we could put together a program that would be affordable for you, it makes sense to you, and you're comfortable with it. Is there any reason you wouldn't implement that program?
No.
No. Has anybody ever done, or ever calculate the amount of coverage you need?
No.
Okay, so this is how we calculate it. In the early days, most people have young children, high debt, and no money saved. Now, let me ask you, how much roughly do you have saved up between your retirement accounts, like 401ks and checking, just hard cash that would obviously go to your children if something happens to you?
Oh man. $8,000.
8, okay. And if God forbid something happens to you, would you want to make sure your children, oh, by the way, what are your children's names again?
Actually, you know what? I'll say $100,000.
100, okay.
Yeah.
How much? Okay. So, and by the way, God forbid something happens to you, would you want to make sure your children, and by the way, how old are your children again? What are your children's names again?
Kim and Chloe.
Kim and Chloe, okay. Would you want to make sure Kim and Chloe's educations are taken care of no matter what?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Now, if something happens to you tomorrow, would you want to make sure your debts are paid off, like you said, still, so that they don't roll down to Kim or Chloe?
Yes.
And how much balance of a debt roughly would you say you have under your name?
With the mortgage?
Yes. Anything with an APR attached to it?
Yeah. 300,000.
Okay, 300. And how much are your bills typically per month to be able to keep a roof on top of Kim and Chloe's head?
7,000.
7. Okay. So let me just reiterate and magnify what you just shared with me. You said you have about 100,000 saved up, and you want to make sure Kim and Chloe's education are taken care of, but you also have $300,000 of debt. And then on top of that, 7,000 a month of bills, right?
Yeah.
This is a very rhetorical question, Samir, but if something did happen to you tomorrow, how long would 100,000 last Kim and Chloe?
Yeah, not long.
Right. You can see why we focus on protecting your income with a lot of coverage in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But if nothing happens and you live to retirement, God willingly, your children are now grown. They probably shouldn't need you anymore 30 years later, right?
That's true.
Yeah, your mortgage should be paid, if not almost paid, but your other debts should be paid off. And you're no longer worried about your children. Who are you worried about now?
Myself.
Right. And you better have money to live on, right?
Yeah.
So what we do is to protect your family from you dying too soon with a term life policy for pennies on the dollar, but help you invest properly on the side so that if you live too long, you become self-insured, so that you don't have to pay for life insurance anymore. Because if you have the money, why pay for life insurance? Why would you pay for something you no longer need, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if something happened to your car, you would want to replace all of it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If something happened to your home, you would want to replace all of that too, right?
Right.
But if something happened to you, how much of your income would you want your children to have?
All of it.
All of it. So how much per month would you be willing to set aside to help take care of this need for your whole family? 50 to 100, 100 to 150, or 150 or more?
100 to 150.
100 to 150?
Yeah.
So if I help put together a plan for you, for your whole family, between 100 to 150 a month, that would be comfortable for you?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm gonna crunch some numbers for you, but in order for me to give you an accurate quote, I have to ask you a few questions. So what's your date of birth?
Okay. So then you get into the application.
So I get to these questions. Right before I quote, I ask for the referrals. If it's a personal appointment, I'm going to have the client just think about first names only of people they feel deserve to hear the education. But while they're thinking of those people or working with the trainee, I'm going to be quoting, and I pull up a Google Docs and I create a Google Docs. So for example, this is one I created yesterday. On Sunday, and their commitment 50 to 100. In your case, 100 to 150, but 20-year level plus waiver premium, custom advantage. And then I go from top to bottom. But at the bottom, I say qualify first for coverage, then start a Roth IRA for retirement and analyze other investments so that they know that this is not just an
Not
insurance
just
company.
insurance. Yeah.
And we're going to meet again. So once they pick their quote and, oh shoot, we're running out of time. You want me to keep going?
No, I think that's good. I think that we can continue on for next week and kind of fill in some of the blanks. I think this is going to be a widely viewed video. I got to watch it again as well. I don't even know how I get any clients after hearing this. I mean, I suck compared to what I just heard. Because, the transition to Zoom wasn't that great for me. And I think for a lot of other people as well, because I'm used to being in front of clients and I can do a really good job. But you have really taken the presentation in an effective way for Zoom, of all the different tools that you're using, all the different things that you write down, everything that I say, you have a visual for with the calculator, with drawing and things like that. So really, really awesome. I really appreciate it. What other company, guys, we're going to go to where the top producers are telling us their secrets, and now we can see why you're a top income earner and a top producer week after week. But it's not luck. You still work. You may work even the hardest, considering, the number of days that you've been consistently getting a close and getting activity. So thanks so much. We got to end it so we can set appointments, but we'll resume next week. And one last thought for you guys, as much as I rag on people who quit this thing or who are too weak to do this, you guys aren't, and you're here, and you should feel great about yourself that you're doing something that most people won't do. Instead of thinking, oh man, most people won't do this, I don't want to do it. You guys choose to do the tough work, take the hard road in life, and that's why you'll be rewarded. And I appreciate all of you guys for plugging in and staying till the end. So we'll see you next week. Thanks so much.